late from the movie last night, so I didn't do my review then because I was tired. So instead, I'm doing it now, and this was Luca Guadagnino's uh, Call Me By Your Name. It's a very well lauded, beloved film from this year that I happened to not enjoy. And I think I have a couple of reasons why I didn't like it. But before I say those, I will say it's beautifully shot. Um, who's the cinematographer? Uh, ooh. It's Sayombu Mukdeeprom, who also did Uncle Boomy, and I think Uncle Boomy is the main thing he's known for. He's going to be working on the new Suspiria, also with Luca Guadagnino. So it's beautifully shot. It's set in northern Italy. I absolutely adore northern Italy. I've been there twice now, and it's lovely. But I think the moment the movie lost me was when one of the character orders a beautiful thing of wine, and I know that wine because I've had that wine, and it's gorgeous, and he doesn't finish his glass. And he was like, I can't. I'm done. I can't even handle it anymore. That sounds really stupid, but, like, I literally went like this to the camera, like, and my friend was like, what are you doing? And I'm like, he didn't drink the wine. It just went downhill from there. It's based on a novel. I have not read the novel, so. And it was adapted by James Ivory. So I have a love-hate relationship with James Ivory. I loved Maurice. There's a few others of his that I enjoy, but I like really, really, really dislike A Room with a View, and I've watched that movie many times trying to get something great out of it. You can see my, oh no. Anyways, trying to get something great out of it, and I'm going to block this. There we go. Don't get distracted. You can see how similar this is to A Room with a View in terms of tone and characters and even setting. And so I'm already disposed not to like it. Luca Guadagnino had a film last year called A Bigger Splash. I also hated. So there was not a lot going forward to make me think I was going to enjoy this film anyways. But I think my biggest complaint was that they had all these women and none of them felt like real women. None of them felt fleshed out. None of them felt like they were there because women exist, and that was about it. And I can't handle that in movies anymore. Like, if you're gonna give me women, give me real women, or cut the women out completely and just focus on well-developed men. That's it. And obviously, I would prefer the former, where you have well-developed women in your world, because most people do have well-developed women in their world. What was I going to say? Well-developed women. I did like the bits with the psychedelic furs song. I am a fan of Richard Butler. I enjoyed that. But I read that a lot of the costumes and tone was inspired by Romaire's Pauline at the Beach. As I was watching it, I was like, this is making me have horrible flashbacks to Pauline at the Beach and watching that movie and hating it. So now I know why it reminded me of Pauline at the Beach, because it was inspired, the look was inspired by Pauline at the Beach. It's from 1983, I think, also, so it's perfect, except that that's, I believe, in the southern France rather than northern Italy, but what are you going to do? So, Pauline at the Beach, not my favorite. I actually have not enjoyed a single Romaire that I've watched, and I've only watched a handful, but I'm like, I haven't watched more Romaires because I so didn't like the ones that I saw that I feel like he's a director that is not made for me. And so you have two of the biggest inspirations are Ivory, who wrote the screenplay, and Romaire, and it's like, oh, we see why Mariah doesn't like this movie. She doesn't like either of those influences. Mostly, I'm sure it's a great depiction of teenage boyhood, but the whole time I just kept thinking, ooh, because he is a very much a teenage boy in this film, but I'm finding him very gross, and I didn't like spending time with this character, and mostly I just wanted to like throw him into the water and have him stay there. So there's that. I felt like it portrayed intellectuals in a pretentious way, and I know there's a way to show um, people who are intellectually curious without making them seem pretentious and vapid. And that's what I got from this. I felt that everyone was very just flighty and vapid, and that their pursuits of knowledge had no weight in the world. And I think that's unfair to intellectuals. Um, Actually, the day before I watched this, I watched Princess Sid. Hopefully, you watched that video, and it tells a very similar coming of age, like queer coming of age story amongst intellectuals, and yet somehow everybody in that movie feels real. All of the women are well developed, and the men. Everyone's well developed in that film, and everything felt more true to life in that movie than this one. A lot of the dialogue in this felt stilted, and the cadence didn't feel real. I also read that they changed the father's job from being a classics scholar to an archaeology type, and I'm like, so this is like when our scientists pick at like end of the world movies or whatever. But I grew up with two archaeologist parents, and I can tell you that in the summer they got really dirty from doing all of their digging, because in the summer is when you do all of your digging and you pull shit out of the earth and then you catalog it in the winter. And it felt like they had this student there, played by Armie Hammer, who did no work. Every once in a while he'd be like, I typed up pages, but like you never saw him doing any of the work. Very rarely. There was a couple of glimpses, but I know that like doing archaeology is boring as shit, having experienced it as a child and growing up. But at least show bits of it so it doesn't look like they're not working all summer. That I found that really distracting. I'm like, you're there for your summer internship or whatever, and you're not doing any work except for the very end when you go on a trip to a freaking university that we don't even get to see. That was frustrating. Yeah. So I found myself very frustrated by the characters, by the setting, by the tone. Just pretty much everything about it. So obviously here I am saying don't watch Romero. Although you might like Romero. A lot of people loved this movie, which means a lot of people must love Romero. He's a very beloved filmmaker. I just think he's not a filmmaker for me. Just like now having seen two Luca Guadagnino films, I'm not sure that he's a filmmaker for me. And that's okay. I think you can test filmmakers out and you can decide if their vision of the world works with you or not. And I think it's important to be challenged very much by filmmakers that are outside your realm of things. But if that filmmaker who's outside of your realm of things also doesn't present complex women ever, it's okay to drop them, I think. And you can fight me about A Bigger Splash, because I know that a lot of my friends really love that movie, but I felt like those women were underdeveloped as well. So, what else? Again, it's beautiful. It has these great Sufjan Stevens songs. I don't know that tonally they work for the film. It's a little strange. I think Armie Hammer is way too old for this, and I read that Luca signed up for this right after the 2010, what was that movie? The Social Network, and that's why he liked Armie Hammer and he wanted him in this. And at the time, Armie Hammer was the right age for the character, but now he's 30 and he's supposed to be 24 and he does not feel 24, so the age difference doesn't quite feel right either. And I guess they said it mostly pre the AIDS crisis and some other things, but they didn't really discuss how, like in Italy's one of the most sexually liberated countries in the world, and like homosexuality has been legal in Italy since 1890. Perspective, it was decriminalized in England in 1967, so that's a whole almost 80 years more in Italy, and they don't really discuss that. They don't discuss queer culture at all, which I guess is the point, because he's coming of age and coming to know that maybe he likes men and women, or maybe just men, but he's definitely trying everything. No one really helps him, which I guess is true to a lot of people. There's no help. I thought the dad's speech at the end was, I couldn't tell if the dad was saying, this is somewhat spoiler, if the dad was saying that at one point he had a gay lover but it wasn't as great as what they had, and that he settled for his mom slash wife, like the mom, main character's mom, or like he had an almost love and then he settled for the mom. Either way, it sounded like he settled for the mom, and I was like, this is supposed to be a pep talk? What? And also, I didn't find any of the wisdom in that speech very wise or very real sounding. It all felt fluffy and like no one would ever talk like this, even intellectuals. So I don't know. I did not enjoy this film, but it's beautiful, and it's going to be a big player in the awards season. So definitely, probably check it out and have your own opinions. But this was Luca Guadagnino's "Call Me by Your Name," and it was not a movie for me.